374 of the award-winning podcast Fergo and The Freak. I'm that bloke from Rugby League Project, Andrew Ferguson. You can follow me on Twitter at AndrewRLP. And join me as always is the glorious LeagueFreak. You can also find on Twitter at LeagueFreak. How you going there, mate?
Going all right, Andrew, the real deal Ferguson. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah,
pretty chilled, yeah.
I heard you had a big announcement during the week.
Yeah, I'm pregnant. No. With the Rugby League Project website has been working in conjunction with League Unlimited this year, and we've put out our combined Rugby League annual for 2021, which is it's got a lot more season 2021 content in it than the one that we had last year, which was basically just reviews of clubs. This one's actually got match reports from every NRL game that was played this year. Ton of extra stats, some great articles by Fergo and The Freak's very own James Smith. Got an article in there about the Panthers and their premiership. An article in there from Steve Mascord about the Super League War. He's written a book about it, so just plugging that a little bit. Our very own Dr. Alan Pearce, he's got an article in there as well. And some dickhead called Andrew Ferguson's got a piece in there about the Salary Cap, which we did an episode on.
Yeah, I feel like we did 17 episodes on the Salary Cap.
We probably have. It's great, a great concept that I came up with. Because that's just what I do is great concepts. And you can go onto the Rugby League Project website. It's on the homepage. You can view it for free. It's a bit of an honour system. We've given you something for free. It'd be nice if you could just toss a coin to us every month on the Patreon. That'd be fantastic.
So you go to rugbyleagueproject.org. You get the annual for free. You have a look at it. So much great work by some great people. It's the second annual that's been put out. This is going to be obviously a yearly thing for the rest of your life.
For the rest of my life, yes.
Yeah. So
and
6 years.
And my son's life. I've already started working on maths with him. Sure, he's only 8 months old. But he needs to know stats because this is going to be my legacy that he is going to be burdened with.
Yes.
Hard work, buddy, but stiff shit. It's the way it is.
That's why I have kids to crush their hopes and dreams.
That's exactly right. That's right.
Yeah. So
he doesn't. I don't need to waste any of my money on his education.
No.
I'll teach him stats and how to input data on the website. He's got to just run the rest. It'll be fine.
It's great.
Yeah.
Now, the place to go is patreon.com/RL Project, and people can sign up for as little as $1 a month.
It's as little as $1 a month.
That's fantastic. And, great Rugby League Project. It's just a fantastic website. I think it's the most well-known website in the whole rugby league sphere.
I know. There's one called LeagueFreak.com, which we've been battling with for a long time.
Oh, you can't battle with that, man. That's a conglomerate. Why don't you just battle with Apple next time or Google, please? Okay. Sorry, go on.
No, that's fine. You're right. I was going to say we went for the top dog too early. We should have worked our way up there.
Got to aim high. That's what I reckon.
That's right.
Anyway, so we're going to do. Well, last week we went through the halves of each NRL team in 2022, and today we're going to go through the fullbacks of each club. Yes.
And obviously some clubs have got more fullbacks than others.
Yeah.
It's either brilliant or stupid, but we'll go through each club and find out which is worse and which is best. Should we just go through the clubs alphabetically like we did last time?
Yeah. How about we go alphabetically but back to front?
Okay, so we'll get the whinging out of the way early.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's not really whinging. So first is the West Tigers then.
Yep.
Dane Laurie. Kid's a gun.
He really is. And the way that he added so much to their attack last year when he was in the side, it was just, I always had big raps on him from when I first saw him in reserve grade. And, there just wasn't the space at Penrith, unfortunately, for him. But it didn't mean he was a bad player. He went straight into that West Tigers team and made them better.
Do you think there wasn't a spot for him at Penrith?
Look,
if you're looking at Dane Laurie now and the Penrith squad now,
yeah,
would you move anyone in that Panthers side to get Dane Laurie in there.
Dylan Edwards in a heartbeat. But I will say this. Everything I saw of Dane Laurie, I felt like he was a 5'8", and I felt like playing him at fullback was his second position that he could possibly cover. I think the way that he took to fullback full time at the West Tigers, that even surprised me a little bit. But yeah, I would swap him for Dylan Edwards today.
Yeah, he's I've got to say, I think he's highly underrated as a fullback. You don't hear too many people talk about him, but yeah, his ball playing ability, he's the nous of him to know where those gaps are going to open up and to make sure he's in the right spot. That's pretty impeccable. That's not a skill that you get taught. That's an instinct thing, and he's pretty good in that area. The Tigers struggled big time when he missed a few games last year through injury. Yeah, he's the first pick in that team every week.
Yeah, what a steal to pick him up. And they picked him up late, of course. But
as you do.
Yeah, you only start recruitment in January.
Mate, they don't have Boxing Day sales in Easter, mate.
That's all there is. But yeah, really good play. They don't have to worry about that fullback position as long as he stays injury-free. That's the only thing.
Yeah. I know that's where the problem comes, I guess, is if he does get injured, then who do they put in there to replace him? And it's probably going to have to be Adam Dewey. I don't think there's anyone else who's played enough fullback that has the ball playing ability that's required of a modern fullback these days. And Dewey has played a little bit of fullback.
Yeah, I wonder.
And besides, that's the only position left that he hasn't been taken away from. It hasn't been taken away from him yet. So,
all right. But I wonder if they are thinking of playing him in the pack, say at lock. And I don't know where they're going to play him. It's a mystery at the moment. But if they have said, look, we're going to play you at lock, he might have put on the extra weight where it makes it difficult for him to play fullback, but we'll wait and see on that.
I think they'll make him a centre.
Yeah.
Because you've got Hastings. If they're smart, they'll put Hastings at 6, because then he can just park himself on the left side, put Dewey at centre on the other side, and then automatically you've got two good ball players either side of the field. You don't need Luke Brooks to do as much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got Luciano Leilua, and if they're smart, they'll put Peachy in the back row, and you can have those on either side as well. Then you've got two very unique line runners and ball players out wide as well to join those two centres, and those two 5'8s essentially is what they are. All of a sudden you're looking at it and going, the Tigers are actually fine with their edge attack. Everything else is shit, but their edge attack is pretty bloody solid.
Hey, did you see that Sean Bloor's out for the year?
Yeah, that's devastating. That is, man.
That's a rough one.
That kid he's raw talent, and to see him just dogged by injury again, man, that's rough.
Yeah, I was very sad when I saw that.
Yeah, I think the Tigers also lost one of their centres for the season as well in the off-season training.
I feel like they did too, but I can't remember who it is.
Yeah, which might be a reason why they brought Stafford Toa over. Mate, he's a very good young centre as well, so I don't know what they do with him, but he's very good. If I had my way, I'd put Toa on the wing and send Nofaluma to reserve grade, but, that might upset a few Tigers fans.
Can you imagine Nofaluma, how he'd handle that? I bet
he'd bitch and moan and sook about it for fucking 9 years. Yeah. You know what? He's the only player the Tigers have signed for 4 seasons as well. Who locks down a winger, for fuck's sake?
I know, right?
Jesus Christ. Anyway. I'm starting to vent already. The season has started. Let's move on.
This is great.
Next one, the Warriors. I dare say their fullback's going to be Reece Walsh.
Yeah, I can't imagine that they're going to move him out of that position with how well he played. And like we talked about it last week, how much pressure was on his shoulders. Everyone was saying that Tuivasa-Sheck when he said, oh, you know what? I'll move out of the fullback spot. I'll play over on the wing for $1 million a year and let the young bloke have all of the pressures of playing fullback. Oh, what a wonderful gesture that was. But
he handled it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, he really handled the role though at fullback there, Reece Walsh. The handy thing too is if they need another fullback, they've got Dallin Watene-Zelezniak there. I know he's not playing that great anymore, but he can handle playing fullback if they get an injury there. So they're pretty well covered in that area, which is good.
How weird is it to think that DWZ, like, what was it, 3 years ago, he played that test match? He was he looked like a monster. He looked like, man, if this is the player he's going to be, the NRL needs to look out. And now, like, I could see them running out in round one and he's not even in their top 17.
Well, they've lost a fair bunch of players, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the wing. Well, actually, you'll probably be fullback in round one because I think Reece Walsh is still suspended for another game. So
okay,
I wouldn't be surprised he's fullback, and then he moves to the wing. The Warriors are a bit light on in the back five, the talent. So I think DWZ should be safe, but he needs to pull his finger out this year. He's been coasting for a bit too long. He's
going to end up playing at Featherston if he's not careful.
Or getting picked up by the West Tigers. Take your pick. It's not a good situation either way. The Roosters. James Tedesco.
Yeah, they're fine. Hey, you know what? I was really impressed with how he played last year in that terrible season.
You know what? I'm staggered that he didn't get more praise for it, given that all the experienced players, they just fell down around him through injuries, which just, they're unavoidable. But he lost Josh Morris, Brett Morris, Jake Friend, Boyd Cordner. Dale Copley retired also at the end of the year. That's a lot that went down. And you throw in that Kiri went missing after just 3 games. Victor Radley, he missed 10 games through suspension. Tedesco was the glue that held that whole team together, and they still finished 5th. And that's a team that only managed to win more than 2 games in a row once last year.
Yeah, and the thing is too, he showed that it wasn't about who was around him. Like, he could still do it himself.
Yeah.
That's when you're at a different level of a player. When he can, sometimes you look at some players and you think, how would they go with this play missing? It's like the old, the classic one with Steve Menzies. It was like, well, when Cliff Lyons retires, Steve Menzies he's stuffed. But Menzies showed that when Cliffy retired, he was still a fantastic player, Tedesco did that last year, and it's just about everyone else lifting their game up to his. The good thing is that if he ever goes out injured, they can slot Manu there at fullback, and Manu's fantastic himself.
He's a freak. He would be a walk-up start fullback at nearly any other club in the NRL. Yeah,
and I think that they really had to pay him good money to keep him there because I think he knew that.
Yeah, he's definitely got to be on fullback money. Yeah, he is freakishly good Manu. Who have we got here next? South. So Latrell Mitchell I dare say, still going to be the fullback.
Yeah.
Unless there's a few options there. They could, given that they never really properly replaced Adam Reynolds, if they want, and this is what I think they'll do. If they wanted to, they could move Cody Walker to halfback and Latrell Mitchell to 6. That way you don't lose the explosive ball running that you get at 6. And Walker is experienced enough to know how to direct a team around.
Yeah.
But I think Latrell is best served at the fullback where he can come into an attacking play late and a bit wider and just destroy opposition's, one-on-one defenders, which are your wingers and your centres. He can just destroy them. And young Blake Taffy, we've got to figure out how to pronounce his surname.
Toffee.
I dare say they'll make him the halfback, only because usually when it comes to getting a rookie to fill in a halfback, it struggles to bear fruit for a while because it's a lot of pressure put on a young player. But if you're a young halfback and you've got Cody Walker at 6, Damien Cook at 9, and Latrell Mitchell at 1, you're fine.
You should be able to, at the very least, coast a little bit because so many other players are taking up the pressure that would normally be on you. I don't know about playing Tafag at halfback though, because it feels a little Aiden Caesar-ish.
It probably does, but at the same time, if you move Walker or Mitchell out of their preferred roles to accommodate one player, then you're weakening essentially three positions just to accommodate one player. And that's a very West Tigers thing to do, which, just as a reminder, doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work at all. But yeah, the thing about Latrell, which is really weird, is just when he's getting to that point of a season where it's like, we've all got to take notice of what is happening here, because he's starting to be he's starting to be so good it's devastating to opposition teams. He either gets injured or he smashes Manu's face into about 15 different pieces. And if he can just have a season where that doesn't happen, it would be interesting to see how he carries that form going into the final series.
Yeah, he just needs to channel that aggression. Just slightly marginally better. Doesn't have to wipe it out. The aggression is good. Just got to make it better directed.
Isn't it interesting that people want him to be a model citizen? And when I say that, I mean in terms of the football side of things. They want him to be almost a Benji Marshall sort of universally loved player. And he's not that person in terms of being a football player. And people kind of get angry that he is not that person on the footy field. And I kind of like it.
It's weird though, isn't it? Because I think obviously there's newsflash. There's racists in Australia. Okay.
Yes.
And because he's been, vocal and very proud of his Aboriginal ancestry, as he should be, the racists don't like it. And a bit of this, attitude that's directed towards him comes from those fucking morons.
Yeah.
And that sort of just spews out to, some of the wider community, and follically challenged journalists that are rather white pick up on that and decide to run a whole heap of fucking smear campaigns.
Yeah, no,
I'm not saying the follically challenged journalists are racist.
No,
I'm just saying they're fucking idiots.
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably racist too. But,
probably.
But the thing is that it's like there's an angry disappointment amongst some people.
Yeah.
That he isn't who they want him to be. And that's the thing of like, he is him. He needs to just be him. And however that is, and I'm not talking about away from the footy field. You never hear a bad thing about him away from the footy field. But on the footy field, he's a bit different from Greg Inglis, because Greg Inglis he had the same physically imposing ability, but he was almost like, he did it in almost like a sociopathic way, in terms of like, it was just this uncaring monster that would destroy everyone.
He's a bit,
he's
a bit nonchalant about it all. He's just sort of very casual. Everyone remembers that hit that Inglis put on Dean Young.
Oh yeah,
just destroyed his entire facial region, and he's just put his teeth through his neck pretty much.
Yeah.
And I mean, that hit was so savage that they changed the shoulder charge law pretty much on the spot after it. That was the breaking point there. Poor choice of words, sorry, Dean. But Inglis was not one to talk too much.
No, he was like an element.
Yeah, and so people were inclined to just accept him for what he was, because he didn't speak much, so you couldn't make much of an opinion of him. But Latrell's, he's outspoken, but for all the right reasons, as far as I'm concerned. I like Latrell Mitchell.
Yeah, so do I. I love watching him play, and I love seeing him fire up. I really do.
Likewise. What I don't like is him being suspended, because then I don't get to watch him play.
Yeah, same here.
That's all I want him to do. Fix it up so you don't get suspended, and then you're fucking perfect.
Exactly.
I'll support you the whole way, Latrell. Love your work. Because he is one of those freakish, every now and then you get one of those freakish players who can just be an absolute point-scoring freak.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously going to South took that away because he wasn't on one side of the field getting fed great ball from Cooper Cronk or Luke Keary, and having star players all around him and just being able to destroy teams. And then, obviously the Roosters were the best team in the comp, so being the goal kicker, he could rack up a ton of points every season. You're not getting that opportunity at South because Reynolds was doing all the goal kicking, and Alex Johnson was scoring all the tries.
Yeah.
But it did take a bit of the pressure away. He didn't have to worry about the point scoring matter. He could just focus on being a better fullback because he didn't get a chance to do that really all that much at the Roosters. And I think he's an absolute gunner for fullback.
Yeah, I like. It'd be hard to pick the Australian team without Tedesco at fullback, but if Tedesco wasn't available, I mean, then you've got Tommy Turbo. I'd tell you what, I'd have Mitchell over Turbo.
I'd have to have Latrell in the side, but I'd have Turbo over Latrell.
I think I think you'd have a better team with Turbo at the back and then Latrell in the side. But if we're just going like, say, pick your top fullbacks, that like you've got to win a game tomorrow and you've got these fullbacks, so you can't pick Tedesco. I think I'd have Latrell over Turbo. I think Latrell is I
just put Latrell in the centres. I can't leave Tommy out of the side.
I can.
Mate, last year was one of those seasons that you do not get to see very often by a player anywhere.
Yeah.
But people are saying, trying to compare, we're going to get to Manly, but people are trying to compare Tommy Turbo's season to that breakout season that Ben Barber had. What was it, 2004 or something?
Four. It's got to be.
Turbo shat on Barber's season.
Yeah, it was way better.
By a fucking mile. He played 18 games, scored 28 tries, and had 28 try assists. That's fucking nuts. Only one player had more try assists than him for the year, and only one player had more tries than him for the year. 18 games. Get the fuck out of here.
I still prefer Mitchell. I think
fair enough.
Yeah, that's just my opinion. And I'm not even arguing about, if someone else picked Turbo, I'd say, yeah, I get it, man.
Now, the next one is going to be a bit tricky because it's the Dragons. Who's their fullback, you reckon?
It's that young bloke. What's his name?
Tyrell Sloan.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
He came into the side partway through the year, looked all right.
They're going to struggle, though, if he gets injured.
Yeah, I don't know who'd be their fullback after him at all. Hopefully they've got someone. But I like the look of him. He looked, he was looking for the ball, which is good, and that's very important for a young fullback. And, in a badly beaten side, he just looked like he had a little bit of something. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes when he's got, a full season under his belt. And when the game slows down for him, I think he could be a good long-term option for them.
He's going to have to be. I still can't believe they got rid of Dufty. I know the media made a whole heap of stories about, here's the reasons why Dufty wasn't picking. I looked at it all and went, that's half bullshit and half stupid.
Yeah, I agree 100%. If I was the Dragons, I'm thinking we don't have to worry about fullback, keep him.
Yeah.
But it's the Dragons.
It was nuts. I can't believe I've got no issue with all the other players they let go. I can't believe they let Dufty go. That's the one they needed to hang on to. That was stupid.
Yeah, I agree.
But hey, they got Jack DeBella and Aaron Woods.
Imagine getting Aaron Woods in 2022. Jeez.
Oh my God. And the thing is, they lost so many players and didn't make too many signings that he will walk in to that starting 17.
Yeah.
Imagine, was it that last two seasons that Paul McGregor had the Dragons,
and
they had arguably one of the best forward packs in the competition.
Yep.
Now look at them.
Yeah, it didn't take long, did it? It's part of me wonders with the Dragons if the new coach got there and they had a look at what they all had and they said, look, we need to tear this completely apart just in terms of salaries before we can rebuild it again. Because at the moment it looks terrible. And I'm willing to give Griffin the benefit of the doubt and time because his record is very good as a coach. But
let's be honest, he lost complete control of that team last year. They went fucking rogue on him and he did nothing to rectify it.
Yeah. I mean, you and me thought he was a great signing as the coach. I don't know. If this is halfway through his rebuild of the club, it's at a rough point. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, it's messy looking.
Yeah.
And, I know I said it before, and you might think I was joking, but Moses and Bai's not a bad signing because what they need is someone who is a good boy off the field, essentially.
Yeah.
And Bai is that sort of person. And he's got that sort of personality that other players are drawn to. And so if he can get them to be better behaved off the field, you'd want to hope that is, repeated on the field as well. But that's the only reason why you bring someone like him in there. Sometimes you just need to have one of those good guys who everyone sort of gravitates towards to get a good culture starting up because, things went sour there last year.
It really did. I wonder if sometimes you can build some of that through your coaching staff and your trainers and things like that, just general people around the club, rebuilding a club's culture. But there is something to be said about it being one of the players and one of their peers, And you and me have talked about Mbai, and you saw it in that documentary last year at the West Tigers. He seems like a really nice bloke, somebody that's easy to be around and stuff like that. As a footballer, he's not a first grader, hasn't been for years, but you might be right. Maybe that is part of why they brought him on board. And look, stick him in the side. They're not going to win the title this year. They won't make the finals this year. Why not just have somebody there that's just a good influence?
Yeah. And look, they can put him at 5'8" alongside Ben Hunt. It probably won't be bad for Hunt's game. Moses is steady. He can do the basics. That's what you're going to get out of him. And if you need someone to cover fullback, he can do that, I guess, as well. And so you're pretty much, he's safe.
Yeah.
That's all he is. He's safe. He's not going to be a game winner.
No.
Or a game changer. He's just safe. But yeah, I think they picked him up more for what he's going to provide off the field more than anything else. Mm-hmm. And they need that big time.
So, yes, so bad.
The Panthers with Dylan Edwards. You're pretty clear about how much you'd be able to swap Dylan Edwards out. You were pretty clear on that all last year. Till we found out just after the grand final that he spent most of the year playing injured. Did that change your perception of him much at all?
No. No.
Do you think he's going to be better improved now that he's fully fit?
No. I think that when somebody says, what was the big highlight of your season? And it's like, well, I played terribly, but I was injured. I'm sorry. Like, this is a Panthers team that is unbelievable in most parts. They've got very good outside backs, very good centers, incredible halves. One of the best performing forward packs I've ever seen. More depth than most clubs can dream of. And we've got a fullback who is reserve grader on his best day. On his very best day, he is a real worry under the high ball.
So if you were to drop him today,
yes,
who goes to fullback? Because you can only go from who's playing at the Panthers. Because I'm going to say this. I thought when Crichton went there, he was barely any better.
I would have Stephen Crichton, and I'll tell you why. Because Crichton hasn't played much fullback there. But once he gets a little bit of football under his belt, and I think he is going to be a ridiculously good player. And I think as a fullback, he would become one of those elite fullbacks. I think he's going to be an elite centre. I think that if you filled out, you could probably play him in the back row and he'd end up being a bloody good back rower. I just think he's one of those athletes. He's explosive, he's powerful, he's got good evasive skills, things like that. And he can find the try line too. I think today Stephen Crichton is double the player as a fullback purely than Dylan Edwards is. I think Edwards is terrible under the high ball. I think he runs the ball back from kick chases barely harder than bloody Gutherson at Parramatta. I don't think his ball playing skills are that great. I just think he doesn't offer much in attack. His defence is, average. And under the high ball, we always think he's going to drop it.
Would Taylor May make a future fullback?
Look, I don't know. I just think that a premiership winning club like the Panthers should be looking for better at fullback. It's our worst position by miles, by absolute miles. Then they just re-signed him to a longer deal. Like, I can't wait until we get Dane Laurie back.
Steady. You might have to wait 2 years for that. Who got next? Oh, speaking of Gutherson, Parramatta's
what do you think
next.
of Dylan Edwards? You tell me what you think of Dylan Edwards.
I think he's a winger.
Yeah.
I think he's a solid enough winger. That's about it. I think Caleb Akins was the one they should have kept.
Yeah, and he went down to
Canberra,
I believe. Surprised he didn't get a little bit more footy down at Canberra once Sampson cut his hair off and started getting injured.
It's an interesting one. I just thought Akins looked more like a genuine fullback. His kick returns were far better, and he looked safer under the high ball. Edwards just looked like a standard winger.
Well, the thing is too, Penrith had a few young blokes to choose from. They went with Edwards. There was a point there where Edwards started getting a few games under his belt, and I think a lot of it had to do with just injuries and things like that to the others, and he just ended up getting the reps, and so they stuck with him. I don't rate Edwards at all. I really don't.
Right, well, we'll see how he goes this year.
Yeah.
Gutherson at Parramatta. I've said all along, if he's got any position that he plays in the team, it's a 5'8". Because I'll say this, he's got better under the high ball, but he still doesn't look like a proper fullback. His kick returns are dawdles.
Yep.
He's just lucky he's got Micah Seaver, who will literally run through buses on a kick return. And they've picked up Bailey Simonson from the Raiders, who's a very good runner of the ball as well. So Gutherson will just, catch the kicks downtown and just palm it off to one of those two units and let them do all the hard work. Which, let's be honest, it kind of works for them, that method, because, 3/4 of the season, Mitchell Moses is pedestrian. And so Gutherson has to play as a 5'8" anyway, so you can't have him burn himself up doing kick returns.
That's a good point. I also feel as though towards the end of last year, they got Gutherson. Somebody had a word to Gutherson and said, listen, dude, if you go around yelling at your teammates, they're not going to like you. And I feel as though towards the end of the year, he chilled with a lot of that stuff.
Gutherson or Moses?
Gutherson.
Okay. I thought it was Moses that was yelling at his teammates.
No, well, Moses does, but he only does it when he's really pumped and fired up, and that's like the first 6 weeks of the season, and then he goes missing. So, but Gutherson...
I produced a stat actually on Twitter today about Parramatta.
Yeah, what was it?
Along the lines of, in the last 3 seasons combined, Parramatta has lost just 5 of their opening 24 games of the season. So that's rounds 1 to 8.
Yeah.
But they've lost 4 of their 6 finals games in the same period.
Yeah, that's interesting.
They start the season on fire and they finish like shit.
Yeah, they fizzle out pretty good. I just feel with Gutherson, he took a little bit of a step back from a lot of the verbaling at his teammates, and that's a good thing. It's not Team Gutherson, it's Parramatta Eels. And, he's not the sort of player, like if James Tedesco was doing what he was doing, yelling at his teammates when they'd done something not great, then that's different. But Clint Gutherson shouldn't be doing that, especially when he would make a mistake and he'd just have a laugh about it. I think that must have rubbed a lot of Parramatta players the wrong way.
Yeah. The problem too with Parramatta is if Gutherson gets injured, who replaces him?
Yeah, because you couldn't play Sevo at fullback.
Imagine the kick returns though.
Amazing. No one would. I just don't even want to think about it because it's like a crime against humanity. You know?
It would be. The police would be sitting on the sideline with cuffs looking at him going, wagging the finger. No.
Yeah.
No deaths today.
I hope he has an injury-free season. He was really hampered last year by injuries.
Yeah.
And it slowed him down. I just hope that he's injury-free this year and we can see him open up again and start bulldozing everyone because I love watching him play. He's just so amazing.
For Parramatta, what they need more than anything else is for Moses to back his running game.
Yes, 100%.
Because he starts every season. Right, his running game is on fucking point, and they are destroying teams.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'll come up against one team, and they'll shut him down for the game. He's like, "Oh, we'll put that in the back pocket. We won't use that again because it didn't work." And going, no. He's got to get through that because the minute he puts his running game away, Parramatta's attack becomes one-dimensional. They still win games, but they're all hard slogs. Remember watching the Sharks about that, the 2 or 3 years before they got to their 2016 premiership, and you watched them play, and every single game was an ugly grind, and they won like 14-16 every fucking week.
Mm-hmm.
And if they didn't win 14-16, they were losing 14-16. It's just there was nothing inspiring about the play. It was just this grinding, horrible football. It doesn't instill the team with confidence. It's like, oh, we got away with that one, and then you do it next week. Oh, we got away with that one, and that's all they're doing. They've got to fix that attitude, and they've got to get Moses just run, fucking run, man. First option, run. Then think sideways and passing, but you got to run first, man, all season long.
I would say to him to think like a hooker. Always forget passing the ball. Always be looking for lazy defenders and players that are out of position defensively. And don't worry about the playmaking. Let Dylan Edwards worry about that because the best thing Moses can be is that ball runner. Nathan Cleary is a really good example of that. He's a really good ball runner in that sense. And, I think Mitchell Moses could learn a lot by watching Nathan Cleary's game because if, Cleary just thinks run most of the time and he makes so many meters. He's such a good ball runner. We're very lucky to have him.
The other thing Cleary's got going for him too is the fact that he knows when to run.
Yeah.
He's not a selfish ball runner. That's the difference. But Moses has speed. He's got a good step on him too, so he needs to be taking that ball to the line before he does anything else. But too often when the form starts to slide, he just drifts right.
Mm-hmm.
And then if he can't find a link runner to take a hospital pass from him, he then just kicks to the corner. He's so fucking just irritating to watch. I don't know how Parramatta fans watch, but when I watch Moses play, you watch what he does in the first 6, 7, 8 weeks of a game and how he just tears teams apart, and you're going, this guy could play test football.
Mm.
And then 3 weeks later, you watch him going, who the fuck's this clown?
Yep.
Like, why is he in first grade? How can you be so rocks and diamonds with the way you play?
And it'd be timed for how the season goes.
Yeah. It kills Parramatta's attack completely.
It really does.
So, for Parramatta's sake, they need Moses to start running more often. I'd probably go up to him and say, you know what? Luke Brooks runs more than you.
Wow.
Yeah, lift your game. Yeah. If you don't start running the ball anymore, we're going to replace you with Chad Townsend.
Come on now. You've got to draw a line somewhere.
Scott Drinkwater?
Matt Daylight? Okay, who's next on our list?
Well, just happens to be the Cowboys.
Oh, man.
They've probably got the best pair to cover fullback, though, in the competition. Because they're going to be starting the season with Hamiso Tabuai-Fidau at fullback.
Yeah.
He is very good. And if he gets injured, Valentine Holmes can slip in there. I know you don't rate Holmes, but he's a very good kick returner, and he's very safe under the high ball. And of all the things the fullback needs to be, those are the two things at the top of the list.
Yeah, look, Tabuai-Fidau, he really took a step last year, which was really interesting to see. Because there's sometimes the Cowboys have wingers that they look like they've got a bit of something, but then it just fizzles out a little bit, you know. And he went the other way. It's going to be really interesting to see how he plays. And if he can make that fullback spot his own, he might push for an origin fullback spot. Like if he keeps developing, you know, I really don't rate Valentine Holmes as a fullback at all. I think he's been a disaster for them.
Oh, he has been, but the way the Cowboys had their team structured not suit the way he played the game. Holmes works as a good fullback if you've got two genuine good playmakers at 6 and 7. But when he came to the club, they didn't have either of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Morgan was there, but he was injured so much and out of form when he got back that it meant that how Holmes at fullback then had to start doing playmaking duties, and he's not that sort of a fullback.
No.
He's your strong ball running fullback who can finish a playoff by running in as an extra man, you know, wraparounds, that sort of thing. And he can throw a pass late. That's pretty much all he's got in his game. But it works, and he knows how to score a try. So that's the sort of fullback he is. He chimes into the back line. He doesn't create opportunities, so to speak.
Well,
he's forced into that role.
Well, it's interesting that, like, you have different sorts of players. You have, like, in terms of fullbacks, you have your finishers who, like, and then you have your ones that are more like playmakers. The very elite ones can do both.
Yeah.
You know? James Tedesco, like, he could do both. Billy Slater could do both. But yeah, I just think that Holmes, you know, I feel like he's what you look at him and you think, I want him to be an elite fullback. I see all of the parts of his game and I think to myself, there's no reason he can't be an elite fullback. But for whatever reason, he's just not a fullback.
He doesn't have the playmaking skills. That's all it is. So when you watch him, he looks basic, but you look at his kick returns. For a guy he's not built like James Tedesco. He's pretty slight to build, but his kick returns are fearless. He runs it back hard every time. He doesn't dawdle back like Gutherson. He runs it back hard. He knows how to score a try. They're pretty key things. So I think he is a handy enough fullback, but he needs to have the right spine around him, and he didn't have any of that at the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
So when they brought him in there, they should have just said, you know what, we're going to put you on the wing. But they knew if they'd have said that, he would have said, fuck you, I'm going somewhere else where I can get $1 million a year.
Yeah. So
they bit the bullet and took what they could. So now they've got $1 million centre who's barely ever played there. And so the problem they're going to have with Holmes this year is that he's going to have to start doing more defence than he's ever done in his life. And we don't know how he's going to handle that role out wide because he's never been in that situation. He's always been on the wing or at fullback where you might have to make 3 tackles a game.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got, you know, either the sideline or other players come across to help you. So it's a lot easier defending when you're a winger, but when you're at centre, you've got to make those tackles one-on-one. And they're often against another second row or another centre. And most of them are going to be bigger than Holmes.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's interesting how that's going to work. The Cowboys, though, this year, when you look at it, it's a mess.
Yeah, it feels a little bit West Tigery, where it's all kind of thrown together a little bit.
I kind of look at it and go, it looks worse.
Well, I think they're going to be one of the 3 worst teams in the comp. And there's just nothing you can really point to and say, well, at least there's this on the horizon. They just signed a really, really old halfback for big money on a decently long contract in Chad Townsend. So I don't know. It's not even as though you can look at them and say, well, they're building for the future or anything like that.
I think they did. I think they got Townsend purely because they needed someone in the halves who has a kicking game, and Townsend has at least that.
Mm.
And so they're thinking of, we need to get back to the most basic of basics and build up from there, which is the right thing to do. But there's a lot of problems with that team. A lot of problems. Yeah. I don't know how they go about fixing it. They need to do a proper rebuild, but I think they've got too many players on contracts, past this year, which are going to make it a bit hard. So they just sort of got to bide their time until they can do it.
Yeah, it feels like this is, if you're going to do a rebuild, it feels like this is just a year of putting it off.
Yeah, pretty much. Don't be surprised if they put Tormalolo in the proper rotation instead of at lock.
Yeah.
Fucking nuts. Anyway, next is the Knights. This is tricky because, in my opinion, they've got very little option other than to have Ponga at 5'8".
Yes, I agree.
Which means Tex Hoy, who played fullback a fair bit last year, and he did pretty well there, he will then become their fullback. But given that Ponga is pretty bloody good at fullback, it's hard to want to take him away from that. But I think the Knights are struggling for creativity in the halves.
Mm-hmm.
Ponga showed in his first Origin game that he can handle the defensive workload. Remember they played him at lock or something?
Yeah, they played him somewhere weird, eh?
Yeah, he'd never played in the forwards in his life. They put him at lock when he come off the bench in Origin. And he just tackled his ass off the whole time. He didn't get to do anything in attack. He's just making tackles, and he's fine.
Bit of the same position that South would bring Benji Marshall in when they'd have the three halfbacks.
Yes.
Yeah. And, he'd get through a lot of defence, but that extra playmaker was, it's hard to handle, especially when it's a classy playmaker,
Yeah.
But yeah, look, when it comes to Tex Hoy, I know there's some pretty good raps on him and stuff, and I just don't see it personally.
Yeah, well, I see the potential there.
Yeah.
He's only young. So I think he's only going to get better. He hasn't had a chance yet to, properly nail down the position. He's just been a filling player at this stage. So it hasn't been helpful for him, I guess, development wise yet. But I think this year, if they put him at 1 and Ponga at 6, I think we'll see him come along in leaps and bounds. The only other option is to put Gagai at fullback.
See, Gagai would go well. He's going to get the job done. He's not going to mess up and stuff like that. I think he's probably a better option. But at the same time, when you look at the timeline of this Knights team, you would probably want a younger player. You probably want somebody that you're looking towards the future with. And, Gagai, I feel like, is the sort of player you get him and you're like, okay, we've got a centre winger who can play Origin level footy, and we don't have to worry about that. Whereas if you're playing him at fullback, I don't know, I feel like there's a development opportunity missed there for the Knights. But I don't really know what they're aiming for this year, because in reality they should be aiming for a top 6 spot. But I don't think they've got the talent for that. I honestly think they're going to really have to struggle to make the finals at all. And if that's the case, like after all their rebuilding over all these years, that's a really bad season. If they miss the finals, it would be a disaster for them.
I think it's easy to look at the fact they made finals this year and think that they had a good season. But their defence went backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Like they considered 5 points more per game in 2021 than they did in 2020. And when you consider that the 9th place Sharks, 10th place Canberra, and 11th place Dragons all had a better points difference than the Knights, and all it would have taken was for the Knights to have one loss and all of those 3 teams to have 1 win, and the Knights finish 11th.
Mm.
And then you start looking at going, yeah, okay, they're not really one of the top 7 teams. They're just in that bunch between 7 and 11, and that's kind of where they belong.
Yeah, and they kind of, it really was a wet sail finish to their year last year, where they were the team and you knew they weren't going to do anything in the finals. But yeah, I feel as though, like, I could see the Knights really easily finishing like 10th or something. It wouldn't take much for it to go that way. Say they miss Ponga for 6 to 8 games, which isn't unreasonable when you look at his injury record. You could see them down in I wouldn't be shocked if they finished like 12th even.
Well, I think they're going to have Jayden Brayley, I think, is going to be out for the first few weeks as well. And
I think he's got an Achilles injury, and I'd be shocked if he played this year, especially being a hooker. Like that's a bad injury, especially for an explosive runner like him at a hooker.
And he was a big player for him last year. He had a good season.
Mm-hmm.
And they might have to drop back to Kurt Mann at hooker.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big drop back from the quality that Brayley brings you at hooker. And losing Brayley means there's more playmaking pressure put on the halves.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a tough one, but I suppose we can be sure that Adam O'Brien will say sorry every week. It's on me. It's on me.
The first 8 weeks of the season at halftime, he'll throw a bunch of shit around the room, expecting to get something out of his club. And then he'll get to the end of the year and wonder why they stopped listening to him.
I'm sure what he might even do is you might see him just sneak off 10 minutes early so he can set up a whole heap of stuff to kick in the dressing room. And he gets down there and he just goes, is the camera on me? Right. Start kicking shit.
Well, he has to do it himself because you don't want to get like some vindictive backroom staffer who puts out like bottles and stuff around. And then one day they just put like an esky and fill it with bricks.
He just steps his ankle off. Crunch. Fuck.
Imagine that.
That would be nasty. Yeah. Melbourne Storm. Obviously, they're going to have Pappenhausen at fullback.
Yes.
I suppose Xavier Coates could probably cover there too if they needed it. We know Munster can play fullback. Even Jerome Hughes, I think, has played a bit of fullback in his time as well. So
this one,
they are covered pretty well there.
Yeah, it's weird to think like my first thought with the Storm is like, oh, they haven't quite got the depth they had last year at fullback, and then you start looking into it, and it's like, they're fine.
One player they've got there as well, who I think made his debut last year, but he didn't really play much, was Tyron Wishart. He's the son of Rod Wishart.
Oh, right.
And there's been reports suggesting that he's done an awful lot of exclusive one-on-one training in the off-season and a lot of it with Billy Slater.
Mm-hmm.
And Wishart came to the club as a 5'8". The fact that he's been doing a lot of training with Billy Slater suggests that he may be replacing the role that Nico Hines had there, where he was basically the backup fullback but could slot in the halves if need be.
Yeah.
So I dare say that's probably what they're going to do there. So I wouldn't be surprised if we hear a bit more about Wishart through the season as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. I haven't heard about him at all. That's really exciting, actually. You just hope that Pappenhausen, has got a decent off-season. His concussion issues have settled a little bit because that really took the wind out of his sails quite a lot, and that the break has really got him fit and ready for the start of the year, because before that concussion, he was just unbelievable. Like,
unstoppable.
He really was. It was like Billy Slater-esque in terms of it was almost as though there was a play that was on fast forward that would come into the back line, and so he's just one of those players that you love seeing play the game. I really, really hope he has a good injury-free season this year.
Fully agree. Next is Manly.
Well, as I said, Tommy Turbo, crap.
That was one hell of a season last year.
Well, think about it. If he had 60% of the season he had last year, you would say, damn, he had a really good year this year, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like, that's how good it was.
I don't think people understand that if you look back through history, there are certain seasons where you just go, there's just one player who was so far and above what they've done previously and the rest of the competition that it stands out and is remembered forever. It's just been one of those seasons where, remember that season when Tommy Turbo just destroyed everyone? People will always remember that. And I'm talking, there's not many seasons like this. Dave Brown in 1935 is like the benchmark.
Mm-hmm.
And for a fullback, it's one of the best seasons a fullback's ever had in the game. Yeah, Billy Slater had a great career,
Yeah.
But he never had one season that stood out like this one did for Tommy Trbojevic. He was just on a completely different plane for this season. It's just a shame we didn't get him for the whole year. We only got him for 18 games.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine what he had done, what he could have done. He had played 20, 24.
There was a season, and I don't remember it, by Phil Blake where he had a ridiculous season out of nowhere.
83.
It was 83. That's
yeah.
He
scored 27 tries for Manly. Trbojevic broke it this year with 28, or last year.
That's crazy. It's there's every so often there's just one of those seasons which is ridiculous. I think the ones that, and they probably weren't at that sort of historic level where you can just look at pure stats and see, but like Brett Mullen's season in 94 was unbelievable. That was crazy.
Well, that's the only one I can think of.
You know, the
in
other
recent times it matches what he did.
I feel as though it was a couple of seasons ago now, the season Tom Malolo had, where he kept on breaking the record he kept on breaking the record for the most meters gained by a forward.
Yeah.
That was kind of ridiculous as well.
Yeah, those are the ones you look at. That might have been the year to make a grand final, wasn't it?
That was another one.
Yeah. Benji in the 2010, 2009, that sort of region.
Mm-hmm.
God damn.
Peter Johnson in 2006.
Who?
Don't you remember Peter Jorgensen?
Peter Jorgensen. Oh boy.
He tried to run the ball back hard.
He tried.
His spirit was willing, but his body just wasn't.
It's like, nah, not today, mate. Maybe tomorrow. It was a special season. Hopefully, his body is now getting to the stage where it's able to handle week in, week out NRL action, and he starts to play more and more games instead of less and less games.
Yeah, fingers crossed. It's weird that his brother just doesn't miss games.
Yeah.
But he is so injury prone, and you can, they're built very different to one another. You can see that. I tell you what, he's got a younger brother too. I don't know what position he plays, but
Ben is the centre.
Okay, because I called him in the lower grades, and I did this a couple of years ago now, and you could just see he's going to be a first grader. You could see back then, he probably could have slipped into a first grade squad on the wing, and you wouldn't have lost too much. And he must have been 16 or something at the time. So it's going to be interesting to see how he comes into the side and how he's developed as an athlete, because if he ends up getting a start at fullback when his brother is injured, I just think it'd be interesting to see how that would turn out.
Yeah. Again, another different body shape too, but he's huge reps on him. Huge reps.
Look at when I saw him play. If it wasn't a Trbojevic, I would have been like, man, any club should sign this dude right now. You know, he was just one of those players, but you knew he wasn't going to end up anywhere else but Manly because of his brothers. So, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, next is the Titans. And
it's one.
Yeah, well, the problem the Titans have got is Jamal Fogarty left, and they didn't actually go and sign anyone to replace him. So I think what they're going to do, I'm only going off a few training videos and stuff or training pictures that I've seen. I think they're going to run with rookie Toby Sexton at halfback. Grimson will be 5'8", and Jayden Campbell will be fullback. I think Campbell is more than ready for it. We saw him play last year, make his debut, and took him half a game.
Yeah,
he was fine. He's absolutely fine.
It's interesting because he's a really slight player, but the physicality of first grade, he just seemed to handle it really well.
That's crazy. He's actually 6 foot tall.
Yeah, that is interesting. Cause his dad was about 5'6", I reckon.
Or 5.
5. He was just 5.
He's just 5. Preston was very small player, but God, he was hard to catch. And I mean this in the nicest way possible. When I think of Big lumbering forwards in the early 2000s trying to catch Preston Campbell with the
Yeah.
way the game was then. It's kind of like watching Rocky trying to catch the chicken.
Yeah. That's true. He was he powered the Panthers to their premiership in 2003.
Love Preston Campbell, man.
Such a good player. And his son, I think his son's going to fill out a little bit, but not too much. I still think he's going to be a slight player, a little bit like Trbojevic at fullback. But there was just something about the way that Jayden was playing. He seemed to, it was almost as though he avoided the thing that a lot of young players get where they get, bashed up by the bigger players in the NRL at NRL level, just because of his ability to evade the contact a little bit,
It's like, evolution at its best because he looks a lot like, in the playing style, looks a lot like his old man.
Mm.
But he's got a slightly bigger frame to go with it.
Yeah, yeah.
It just seems freakish.
And it's weird to think that the Titans, Brimson has played fullback for Queensland and very well as well.
Yeah.
A series at fullback for them. To be able to move him if they need and have Campbell at fullback, it says a lot about Campbell and where his future's going.
Yeah. Yeah. So the majority of their spine's looking pretty set that way.
Mm-hmm.
Bit of pressure on Sexton though, being a rookie, have to steer around, especially that pretty impressive forward pack.
Yeah.
And a somewhat unimpressive 3/4 line. Can you name the wingers and centres for the Cowboys?
Kelly.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I almost said David Mead. I don't think he's played there for 10 years. No, I can't.
Yeah. It's probably going to be Corey Thompson, Patrick Herbert, Brian Kelly, Philip Sammy.
Philip Sammy's the one I would have missed because Anthony Don retired.
Mm. It's a solid. I'll be kind. A solid 3/4 line.
You know what it is? It's solid, but sometimes really badly flawed.
Yeah, I'd say solid and almost safe, but that's not what you kind of want from your 3/4 line. You need some sort of X factor in there, and they don't really have it.
Just on Campbell, do you think that in a couple of years he's going to be a 5'8"?
I don't know. I reckon they might just keep him at fullback.
Okay.
Because he's still young. I think they'll keep him at fullback because it takes the defensive pressure away from him.
Do you think that his future is at 5'8"?
I don't know.
I feel like he's going to be a 5'8".
I think he could. I think he'll have the ball skills to handle it.
Yeah.
But man, if he carves up at fullback, I don't think they'll move him from there.
Yeah.
Why would you?
Because Preston was a fullback, and then he was moved into the halves, and he started carving it up.
Wasn't he in the halves first at Cronulla, and then went to fullback when he went to Penrith? Or did I get that the wrong way around?
See, in my head, because remember he in my head, and I might be getting this wrong, but he started he had to go at fullback, and then he moved into the halves under John Lang at Cronulla, and he had that awesome season, where he won the Dally M, I believe, didn't he?
Yeah, and then the Sharks got rid of him.
And then the Sharks got rid of John Lang, and Chris Anderson come in, and Preston Campbell was a Chris Anderson sort of player. And then Preston moved to Penrith. John Lang puts him in the halves again, and the rest is history. But I feel like Preston started out in first grade as a fullback, but I could be wrong about that.
I'll look it up. If only there was a place where we could do it.
I know. If there was some sort of ongoing project about rugby league.
An ongoing project.
Yes.
Oh, right. I just realised what's going on. Okay. What season are we talking about here? 2000 and...
So it would have been...
4-ish?
No, it would have been before that.
2.
Yeah.
Because he went to Penrith and won a premiership, didn't he?
Yeah, in 2003.
That's right. Right. Here we go. Preston Campbell. wing, bench, fullback. Yeah, and then he was halfback. So fullback for 3 games in 98, halfback in 99, and then moved permanently to the halves in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Played a bit of hooker in 2002.
Yeah, that would have been under Anderson.
And then, permanently in the halves from 2003 onwards.
Yeah, because Anderson, remember Anderson, I think he brought in Kamali.
Yeah.
And it was bad. He just wasn't an Anderson player.
No, and Kamali's style didn't suit what the Sharks were doing at the time. And it was a bit of a shame all around because Kamali was a very good player.
Mm-hmm.
But, there's a bunch of bad decisions there. Just sort of screwed a few people and players up.
Yeah, and I think Chris Anderson was trying to play that flat storm style of attack, and it was just the game had moved past that a little bit.
Quite a bit.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I knew he played some fullback. It wasn't heaps of it, but he did. He played some fullback. Anyway, geez, we got off track on that one.
Just a little. We haven't got too far because it all works in together because they're at Cronulla.
Okay.
And they got William Kennedy at fullback.
Who's just, I mean, you and me love watching him play.
Stunning season last year too. He just keeps getting noticeably better every year. He's brilliant to watch.
I love that. I love that he went from being like a handy attacking player to an explosive attacking player. Like he could change the game himself.
Yeah.
And if he continues to get better from that and how he played last year, he's going to be a handful because he was so good last year.
He's brilliant. Now I'm going to ask you too, completely unrelated to the topic at hand.
Mm-hmm.
Has any team had a better clean out than the Sharks this year? Here's some of the players they got rid of.
Yeah.
Chad Townsend, Sean Johnson. I'm not mocking Sean Johnson, but he did get a bit injury plagued and he wasn't cheap.
Yeah.
Aaron Woods, Josh Dugan, Will Chambers.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. It's weird they brought in Will Chambers to begin with, to be honest, but what a fucking stupid idea that was.
Especially given how much Chambers hated the Sharks when he was at the Storm.
Yeah, and he played like it too.
He did. It's like he had unfinished business all season.
Yeah, it's like he never did more. Never did more against the Sharks than he did when he played for them.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a bloody good clean out. A lot of dead wood gone there.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder why it took so long to get to that point where they had to get rid of them all at once. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Sharks go overall this year. Fitzgibbon is another one of these anointed next greatest coaches ever, and that always worries me because not one of those guys have ever worked out yet. So we'll see, but we'll see how it goes. They should have a pretty good year, I think.
They're going to have an interesting spine because Blake Brayley, I rate him very highly in attack.
Mm-hmm.
He's still got a bit of work to do in his defence because he's a bit of a smaller build. William Kennedy, obviously an absolute star at fullback. But then you've got Nico Hines, who is a very, very good ball player, but hasn't really played in the halves for the best part of the last 18 months. And it looks like Braden Trindle should be the halfback, who's comfortable in the role. The minute he walked on the field and had to play his first game, he looked like that he was happy taking control of the team. And that's what you want from a 7. But there's a whole heap of new combinations that got to be made up between Hines and the rest of his spine and also his outside players. And that I don't know how long that's going to take.
Yeah, and I think that the thing there is that Hines is the key to all of that because to go into that Storm side and he was playing a funny sort of position where he would go from, he'd play fullback, but then at times he would come off the bench and almost be once again that like third playmaker almost in the side. It's a lot easier to do at the Storm where you've got a coach that is the best in the game and he kind of gets his players to do exactly what he wants them to do. To do that in a less structured side under a new coach in a new environment, hopefully it works out for him. If it works out for him, they'll be fine. But I could also see where it takes some time for him to settle in.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he's a bit quiet initially.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Sharks fans should get too excited about him early on because he's got to obviously get used to all the different structures and stuff. The Sharks do and have long had a tradition of having very strong forward packs, and that's not any different this year. He will be helped by having Wade Graham fully fit and back playing as well. I mean, we all know he's basically a 5'8", but built like a brick shithouse.
Mm-hmm.
So that's handy to have out there as well. So Hines is not going to have too much pressure on him, which will be a huge benefit. But there will be an expectation that he starts taking control of a lot of the playmaking on at least one side of the field anyway, once the season gets into full swing, I'll say.
Yeah, and I think that needs to be a development in his game too, because at the Storm, he was almost the sort of play that would run off of the back of a lot of that structured play that was put in by the half and the hooker, and he kind of was able to use his running game a lot. Whereas at the Sharks, they're going to need him to be a bit more of a playmaker. So we'll see how he develops in that part of his game. I think he can do it, but it is going to take development. I don't think he's quite there just yet.
No. Next is the Bulldogs. I mean, this team looks completely different to last year.
Yeah.
They've got Matt Duffy at fullback.
Yeah, who I love what he's done, where he's backed himself. He said, give me one season on an okay amount of money because I'm going to put myself in the window and I'm going to show everyone what I'm worth, and then I'm going to get my big deal the following year from somebody, if it's not the Bulldogs. I absolutely love that, so I expect him to have a really good year.
Yeah, I think he will do too. A good try-scoring fullback as well, which every team needs, and especially the Bulldogs, who have struggled in attack for years now.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you chuck in Matt Burton, who can play fullback as well, but he's going to be in the halves, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to really like what the Bulldogs have built, especially in the back line.
Yeah.
It's a pretty impressive back line they've got.
The only thing that I want, and I really do wonder how it's going to gel. It's got to gel so quickly.
Yeah, but there's a lot of new players in that seven, especially in the run-on side.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Look like they're going to have Braden Burns, Brent Naden, Josh Adokar, Matt Duffy, all in the back five. Only Jayden Campbell will have been there from last year.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Burton at 5'8", alongside Avarillo. So when you look at all of your backs, 1 to 7, only 2 of them played last season for the Bulldogs. That's crazy.
I can't ever remember anything even close to it outside of maybe bringing together the Melbourne Storm in their first year, you know?
Yeah.
They were from 2 clubs, basically.
Basically, yeah. And so it's crazy to see them. They're going to have that going on there. Their forward packers are far more settled, which is good because it means the go forward shouldn't change too much. So interesting to see how they get that back line to work, though. They've invested quite a bit of money in those Ferraris out the back.
Yeah. And I tell you what, if that forward, and I think the forward pack will be pretty damn good, but if the forward pack doesn't fire, there's going to be a lot of money in that back line that just isn't getting utilised.
Yeah. Next we've got Canberra. Chance Nickel Clockstar will be the fullback there.
Mm-hmm.
I think Nick Kotrick's come back to the club after a short stint at the Bulldogs.
Yep, he has, yep.
I think he might have actually filled in fullback a few times at the Bulldogs. We've also got Whiten who can cover fullback. Even Fogarty, I think, played a bit of fullback when he was at the Titans, and he's going to be at the Raiders. I do like the half pairing of Whiten and Fogarty. I think that's going to work pretty well together. It's going to work better than the last half partnering they had there with George Williams next to Whiten.
Yeah, who got homesick and went home mid-year.
Yeah.
Chance Nickel Clogstag, and I can't remember how we're supposed to say his last name again because that changed.
I think you're supposed to essentially take the D off the end and change it to an R. So it says Clockstar.
Okay. So
I think that's how it's done.
Chance Nickel Clogstar.
Yeah.
He, when he's at his best, he's a bloody good player. But injuries have just cruelled him. They've really cruelled him.
Especially to his hair.
Yeah, well, as soon as he should never have cut his hair. It's a terrible mistake. He's never been the same.
Has he grown up long? Do we know?
I don't know. We need to bring up some footage of him. I would hope that his hair is like down his back. If his hair's down his back, put money on him for the Dally M.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
The thing is, he really drives a lot of their attack. And when he's not in that side, they haven't got much. Then you're really just relying on Whiten's ball running. And when you're relying on his ball running last year, you'll get nothing. So hopefully that changes this year.
Yes. They also need to get Tom Starling to pull his fucking head in as well. Absolutely gun of a hooker, but acting like a dickhead off the field. It's not helping anyone.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Raiders, and I don't think it's a problem with the Raiders. I just think they've been unlucky in having a bunch of people that they've relied on at the club who end up being dickheads.
Yeah, it does happen. Who got left? Oh, the Broncos are left. So I dare say they're going to go with Tessie Newey will be the fullback, unless they decide to go with Jermaine Asako, which is not too bad.
Yeah. Asako at times looked pretty good, but damn, his defence and laziness in defence, you can't have that at fullback.
Newey's he's only young and he has a lot of potential there. It's just when he first came in, I think his first 3 or 4 games were in 2020. He was shaky as hell under the high ball, but he did look better last year. So hopefully he's improved even further again because I think the rest of his game looks pretty good. I reckon he'll make a pretty handy fullback there. If not, then they can probably try and get Selwyn Cobbo there and you just have the world's fastest fullback.
Since Shane Werrett. Remember Shane Werrett? It's more been written about a player who was just so average as Shane Werrett.
Remember he was there around at the time when they were going on about absolute speed weapons in the game. I'm trying to remember some of the names. Was there one called Ryan Schofield?
I don't remember him.
Played for Parramatta. There was someone else.
Yeah, there was another player. Who was it? Because there was Shane Werrett and somebody else at the exact same time. It wasn't Scott Petherbridge they used to talk about, was it?
Nah. I can't remember. I think, didn't they beat O'Fire in a sprint race, this other person?
Oh, that was Lee Odenryan, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the other one, Lee Odenryan.
Yeah.
Well, there's some names for you people.
I know. Look at us reaching into the dark resources, huh?
Go check those ones out.
Yeah. I feel like there was another one because it's interesting that there's been this sort of play. Like Darren Clark was another one, the famous one. But then there was a player for the Titans, and it was when they first come back into the comp, and I can't remember his name. He ended up playing rugby union sevens, and he was a pretty good young footy player, but he was just one of those dudes that he was a good young footy player, and it just didn't translate into a top grade career. Do you remember him?
No.
Yeah, I can't remember his name now, but he ended up playing rugby union sevens for Australia, I think, which is like park football level. Yeah.
I mean, was it me?
Well, seriously, rugby union sevens is garbage. But there's these every so often. Remember when the Castleford Tigers signed Dwayne Chambers?
Who was that?
He was I believe he was an English sprinter, and he'd been pinged for doing performance-enhancing drugs, and he ended up signing for the Castleford Tigers at one point. He tried to get...
I do think I remember that now, yeah.
And I said it was a disgrace, and, I remember all the Castleford fans saying, it'll be a big promotion for the game, and people watch the game, of course, it never is. But yeah, I think he didn't play many games at all. I think he maybe played 2 or something ridiculous.
Great career.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much all of the top line fullbacks for all the clubs.
If you had to say the top 3 fullbacks, who would just pick?
Let's see, Tedesco, Tommy Turbo, Latrell Mitchell.
Yeah, I agree. And I still think Tedesco's number one.
Oh, comfortably for me, comfortably. His leadership last year took him to another level, I reckon.
I agree 100%. I really, last year was like a change from he's a really good player to, this guy might be a great.
Yeah, absolutely. He seems pretty humble about it all too.
Yeah, he does. It's interesting, if you line him up against, say, an Anthony Minicello, who was there is nothing Anthony Minicello was ever asked to do that he didn't do at a 10 out of 10. But I feel as though Anthony Minicello will not be remembered as one of the great fullbacks in the game.
Yeah, because I don't think he had a complete game compared to Tedesco. I think he was just one of those guys who had a freakishly powerful kick return game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much what he based a lot of his career on. Man, I've not seen a fullback with better kick returns.
Yeah, he was great. He was and he was a strong ball runner too.
Yeah, his leg drive was like a second rower.
Yeah.
Freakish power, man.
But it's interesting that I feel like he accomplished so much. Like, it's not like he's not in the record books,
Yeah.
But I feel as though he's going to be missing for when you think of the great fullbacks. And it's interesting that that's the case. And I guess some of it is the fact that right off the back of, his career was basically during Darren Lockyer's career, and Lockyer is one of the greats. But then straight after him, you get a Slater and then what's his name? Inglis and players like that who are also all-time greats as well.
We also had the unbelievable try-scoring prowess of Brett Stewart as well that came along at the same time.
That's true.
So you kind of got lost amongst all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And he came along, he came along at a time when we just finished a great run of fullbacks. Mullins, Brasher, Belcher a few years before that, and Garrett Jack.
Jorgensen.
Can't forget Jorgensen. So, there was quite a few good ones that were, coming to the end of their careers then. Brandy by then had moved to the halves and was no longer a fullback. I always thought he was a better fullback anyway, but that's just me. But yeah, it's just he sort of was in the right place at the right time career-wise to be, one of the elite fullbacks. But then, that wave that came in halfway through his career was just next tier stuff.
Yeah, and it was like all of them at once, and like all-time grades.
And look, he held his own against them, but they were on another plane, comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. That's thorough.
Yeah. Now we're getting basically back on our normal schedule where we do 27 podcasts a week.
Oh, yeah.
So, there's a few episodes we've got lined up for this week, which we'll talk about after the podcast. Just letting you know.
When you say we, that means you've organised something and I don't know about it yet.
Well,
we'll have a production meeting afterwards.
Yeah, work behind the scenes. It's going to be good fun, and I can't wait for this season. Hey, I'm ready for the footy now.
Yeah, we've got a few different plans for this season as well to sort of shake it up, make it a bit more interesting as well. So that's going to be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
And I was going to say too, the last episode we did the thing on Twitter where we had a quick chat before we started the episode.
Oh yes.
I don't know what it was called, but we will see if we can do that again a few more times. I think that was pretty cool.
Yeah, we should be able to work it out so that we could do it live on there too, like the podcast. I also I downloaded a program this week that if I can get it working would be really cool for being able to just put the podcast out straight away rather than having to put it through my editing machine.
All right.
But I've got to work on getting it working on my computer to begin with.
all this techo talk stuff.
I know, right?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I sound impressed. I'll tell you that. I sound impressed, but you know, I know what he's on about, people. He started talking about editing and stuff. I was just doing that going, look, I need to clean that over there. What the hell, is he finished?
And by the way, our editing consists of adding the song at the start and then pressing like fucking save.
If there's any podcasting award that we deserve more than anything, it is the least amount of effort put into tidying up a podcast episode ever.
We could, like, a lot of our podcasts are just a raw file. Like, we literally press stop and then save it and then upload that file. So,
well, we did that for the best part of 3 years, really.
Yeah, pretty much.
We take more time now because you put a pretty song at the start.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I've changed the song.
Have you?
Yeah. I'll show you what it is after the podcast. So everyone will have heard the song before you've heard it, basically. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Hey, I've got one more question for you.
Yes.
Have we had any emails?
No.
Fucking hell.
No emails. We got the laziest listeners in the whole world.
No, they just bully us on Twitter.
Yeah, pretty much.
They're talking about this. Fine.
If you go to podcast, you can send us an email, right? podcast@leaguefreak.com. Okay. You can send a direct email doing that way. podcast@leaguefreak.com. And about any subject you like in the whole world. It can be about anything. A couple of updates, basically, on my life. I bought Ethereum again this week. Back into the crypto.
Oh, back on the Ponzi coin.
Back into it, yep. And I also purchased a 3D printer. And we're going to have some things for the podcast listeners that come out of that printer.
There we go.
Mm.
Yeah. So, beware or get excited. One of those two.
Exactly. I'm not going to give away anything, but just lube up.
Yeah. Rock solid turds.
Oh, Jesus. Nothing like that. Jesus Christ. Where can people find us, Andrew?
Yeah, you can go onto your social media accounts at Instagram and Twitter at Fergo Freak Pod. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, MySpace. So check all of those out. Subscribe, like, all that gear. That'd be fantastic. We've also got our own website, Freaky.
Yeah, it's fergoandthefreak.com. It's a website dedicated to our podcast. And you can find all our episodes there. You can find our guests there. One easy click. You can find our history episodes there as well, all in one easy click.
Wow, it's been awesome to do a history episode.
Yeah, we should do one soon, hey?
We should. I'll leave it with me. I'll drum something up.
Okay. You're doing some things behind the scenes too, hey?
Yeah, well, I am now.
Nice.
Writing down. I'm writing a note down at the moment on an envelope saying, organise a history episode. I'll lose that envelope somewhere. But yeah, there we go. It's filed.
That's more work than we've done on this podcast for a long time.
Exactly. I'll find that in 7 months' time and go, oh yeah, so I was going to do that.
Yeah, we're going to do an episode. I had somebody on Twitter today saying that they were listening to the 1997 episode and they really enjoyed it. So if you want to listen to, it's basically we did from 94 through to 97, and it covers the main part of the Super League War. So it's a pretty good listen if you're interested in the Super League War.
Yeah, we could go on with 98, 99.
Yeah, we could, yeah, because that was definitely part of it. And then I guess you would do another one after that, which is maybe, the first 10 years or so from 2000, 2010, and then the independent commission kicking in, stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, we could just do every season. Why the hell not?
Yeah, fuck it. Yeah.
We'll do that. All right. Well, that's a few history episodes sorted out. I can just cross it off the envelope now. Alrighty, here we go. Done. Nice. Production meeting over. Alrighty. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. You've sat through the production meeting. You know what's coming up now, so no excuse not to tune in. We'll catch you all next time.